Yes, y'all. What's up? It's your brother DJ SAMROCK, and we are live and up in the building. And I'm celebrating. I'm in celebration because I'm in the studio, completely sober. 20 years transformed, 20 years saved. I gave my life to the Lord December 12th, 2001. My wife just was reminding me earlier that, listen, I've been saved for 20 years now. 20 plus years before this time, right now, the truth be told, Saturday night, I'll be in the club promoting, be in the club drinking, smoking, getting with some random chick right now, and surrounded by 25, 30 people in the club that I know, that we will roll with. So it's an amazing thing just to see what's happening. So I'm live in the studio, recognizing the fact that, listen, I'm completely sober, 20 years sober, haven't drank, smoked, got high or anything like that in over 20 years. Well, this is the 20th year right here, and it's an amazing thing. So why I left the party life, I'm going to be telling you some untold truth. And if you're listening, guess what? You're part of the party. You're part of my celebration. Why? Because you're sober. Or you should be sober, or maybe you're not, but at least you're on an app that you're listening to and you're watching, right? And you are complete. Like, you're good with that. You're good with not having to be out there. You're good with not having to be, how you call it, peer pressure, and doing stuff that you don't have to do, right? So December 12th, right, of 2001. I remember like it was yesterday. But before we get into my testimony, the untold truth, I'm gonna expose a lot of things that you probably never knew about me, because I'm a Christ follower, and that a lot of Christians probably won't tell you about their lives. Listen, this world that we're living in is not controlled by God. Already, that's a statement already, right? That's something different. This world system is not controlled, or it's not ruled by God. It's ruled by the God of this world, not the God, the Father, God, Holy Spirit, God, the Son. No, by the world. And I could back it up with scripture, but let me just back it up a little bit as I get this live on my, let me just put this live up on my website. So we're streaming live from all different type of platforms. I'm on the Wisdom app. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitch, I'm on Facebook, and yeah, and I'm about to share it all over Facebook right now. Also on Podcasting Live, on the Spreaker Network, iHeartRadio, and all that good stuff. So we up in the building. So let me just do one thing that I completely forgot to do, and that's not a problem because, it's all about tech. And I probably won't show my face tonight on the cam because it's one of those things I need to talk about what I'm going through, what I've been through, right? And when you hear my voice, you hear the sincerity, it's all real, it's all true. There's no need to fabricate anything about my past. Just because I have a past doesn't mean, that it was all, it was all copacetic, like it was all good things. I have a bad past, but it looks like I'm going to have a bright future. I have a dark past, but it looks like I'm going to have a bright future, right? According to the scriptures that I know and I read. Let me get out of here. And my websites. Thinking out loud. I'm looking at a screen right here. I just want to make sure this thing's up on my website. So welcome. If you never met me before, my name is DJ SAMROCK, aka Sam Lopez, right? And I'm the owner of Cellular Radio Network, the co-founder of Soul Winners Inc. with my wife of over 20 years, and we online. We'll be doing this thing. We go online. We just speak. We do online businesses, both of us, and we're here. I'm telling you truth. The true stories about our past and what happened to us and why we believe in what we believe. And because of the transformation of someone, God, only God could do the transformation that he's transformed both our lives. He can transform your life too. Amen. So I don't have to prove anything about that. All I know is that he definitely changed my life. So I'm also at live.soulwinnerswithaz.org, live.soulwinnerswithaz.org. That's live, live.soulwinnerswithaz.org. Right there, there's a live chat, and there's so many things going on over at that website. It's distraction free. Not a lot of things going on, no pop-ups, none of that, no ads, none of that. We're going to keep it distraction free tonight. Also, if you want to hop on and be a guest, you have any questions, concerns, comments, if you want to share your untold truth about, maybe you exited the party life as well. Or maybe you're in the party life and you want to know what's wrong with it, or my opinion about what's wrong with it. Because when I was in a party life, you couldn't tell me anything was wrong about it. I was having the most fun in my life, right? Fast cars, fast girls, fast women, fast money, fast cash, however you want to say it. I lived it all. And it wasn't a dream. It was kind of like a nightmare, right? And I'll give all glory to God that I made it out alive. I made it out. I escaped Alcatraz, man. What a prison that was. Pleasure is a prison sometimes. Pleasure will put you in a prison sometimes, right? And that's the truth. No doubt about it. So if you want to live chat with me, I'm on the social media, Satellite Radio Network. You could check me out there, social media on the platforms, also on the Wisdom app if you want to come up and share. I think I have the timer set for a 10-minute conversation with whoever wants to come up and talk about their past party life experience or their current party life experience. Why is it for them? Why is it not for them? If they're just getting into it, you might be thinking, well, what's wrong with partying? What's wrong with celebrating? Well, in my testimony, which I'm going to share in a couple of minutes, listen, man, it's a whole lot about it. It's untold truth about the party life, why I left the party life. And I'm a DJ, and I still DJ. As a matter of fact, I did an event earlier today, right? A Christmas party. And last week I was doing another party. And then, I'm a mobile DJ, and I play music, not all Christian music, some secular, but it's no turn up, no gangbanger, rap music, no twerk music, nothing like that. Why? Because I know what that sparks up. Why? Because I know I've been there, done that, been part of that crowd. I can't point fingers at anyone that's in the party life. Why? Because I was in the party life and I understand it completely, right? I understand being in a crowded club with the bass booming, right? Music playing, dancing, meeting up with random girls and random guys and all this other stuff. Everybody's friendly because everybody's in the zone for the most part. I know a lot of things have changed when it comes to going out and having a good time. A lot of people don't want to have a good time. If they're not having a good time, they don't want you to have a good time. How about that? They're party poopers. But there's a reason why I left the party life. As a matter of fact, I never thought in my whole entire life that I would be on this side of the party life, not being in it. I never thought on a Saturday night, after almost 1 a.m, right, over here where I'm broadcasting in my studio, completely sober and happy about it, right? I never thought I would be on this side talking about that. That's crazy. If you would ask me this 20-something years ago, I would have been like, you tripping. You out of your mind. I will never be what I'm doing right now. I would never do what I'm doing right now. I would never be a Christian, a Christ follower, someone who follows God. That would have been, I would have told you, get out of here, right? But I ran into a good problem. It's a problem, but it was a good problem. And I ran into the untold fact that people won't tell you when they come out the party life. The unknown fact is that you are dying in your pleasure when you're in the party life. Smoking whatever you're smoking, drinking whatever you're drinking, partying, having sex with random people, and, staying out late and trying to wake up early. I come from Brooklyn, New York. I come from the city of New York City, right? And everything is always open. After the pandemic, a lot of things closed down. But when I was coming up, when I was a teenager, I used to be a teenager once before too. I know it's probably hard for a lot of people to believe that, but I used to be a teenager too, and everything was open. I remember back in the day, we used to steal my friend's dad's car and go outside of the clubs. We were too young to get in, but we weren't too young to catch a couple of shorties, right? couple of girls to get them out, you know, when they leave the party, when they leave the club. And we would do that. And then we noticed, though, a couple of friends of mine, we noticed that we would always see these people in the front door of the clubs. And they would always get them free. They would always get people to get them free. So we were so curious about it that one day I said, well, hold on, pull over. Right? I told my boy, pull over. Let me ask this person in the front door. I know they're not going to let us in because we weren't old enough at the time. And I was just curious, how do you get in these clubs for free? And then this guy told me, oh, you got to be a club promoter. So that marinated in my mind for a little while. Well, 15, 16, 17, you know, I was like, man, wasn't able to go in the club still, only if it was a teen club. And there was a couple of them in Queens, New York, a couple of them in the Bronx. But for the most part, the major clubs in Manhattan, East Side, West Side, Midtown Manhattan, Uptown Manhattan, all those clubs were 21 to party. 18 to party, 21 to drink it was. But it was mostly 21 and over. So as you probably could figure out, we figured a way to get into these clubs before we were 21, evidently, right? So we were in the clubs at a younger age, just because we started knowing some people that pulled some strings and got us in. And once me and a couple of friends of ours got into this we got that feeling of this party life, it became something that I'm going to tell you the untold truth about the party life. A lot of things transpired, man, in the short amount of years that we were really taking over some clubs in the highest market of the club district in New York City during the late 80s, early 90s, right? Amazing things happened during those club years, right? So why I left the party life? If it was amazing, if it was fun, we were getting our way with anybody at any time. We had money. We had friends that had money. We had cars. We had girls. We had a little fame. We had a little fortune, right? Why would we want to leave the party life? Why would I want to leave the party life? Right? I met so many people that were in it, and people actually took me under their wing. The biggest promoters during my time coming up took me under their wing. There was 3 of them. I'll leave them all unnamed, but I'll name one, Sergio. Sergio was the one who took me completely under his wing. And there was 2 more other top promoters at that time, which I'll leave unnamed. But Sergio said, listen, you do what I say, right? You learn, I'll teach you everything I know. And then maybe one day, you know, you'll have your own club. But he told the wrong person that. I was already scheming behind his back saying, listen, I'm going to be at the front door of this club sooner than later, right? And this is what was in the late 80s, early 90s, when I turned, old enough to drive my own car. I had my own car first when I was 16 years old. We used to go out there and spy out. Like either we'd take my car or my friend would steal his dad's car in the middle of the night and then park it in the same spot. So I would take my car, park it in the spot where the car originally was, so that way when we got back, because it was a nice car and we wanted to kind of like fake the funk with the girls and say, yeah, that's our car, you know, it's our car. So, you know, the whole phoniness about that. The party life is like this, man. The party life is you get up. In New York, it was a little different because in New York, there was a party. There was a club open pretty much every day of the week. But the hottest nights were Thursday nights and Friday nights and Saturday nights, right? Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So those were the 3 nights that were the hottest, where there would be the most amount of people in the clubs. It would be a higher possibility of you getting hooked up with a girl, whatever like that, or with a guy if you're a girl. There was not a lot of confusion with gender back in the 80s, early 90s, like there is now. So you can imagine that when we would hook up with the girls, they would know that we were guys and we would know they were girls. There was no confusion back then. The untold truth about it is that a lot of drugs was happening. A lot of looseness of life was going on. And I'm basically, to tell you the truth, I am a miracle of getting out of the party life alive. with no STIs and no STDs, no sexually transmitted diseases, and no sexually transmitted infections, all because of the grace of God. So it's an amazing thing. And I know a lot of people are into it. They're into the party life, especially the young people nowadays, right? They want to get their feet wet. They want to dive in. They want to have this so-called fun. They really do. And having that so-called fun, if they're not careful, they might be drug into this party lifestyle that they might not, they figure they could get out whenever they want, but it might not be that easy, right? So 1980, let's see. I'm going to do some math here. Okay, let's see. 86, 87, 88, in the 90s, when I started really started spreading my wings. Unfortunately, I said it, I got de-virginized at the age of 15. And at the age of 15, my dad died. So it was like this. My dad died, and then soon after that, I got de-virginized. I don't know if that meant, like, if that was something that triggered me just to go buck wild, but I think it was, because I got very angry when my dad passed, because we were the closest relationship that I've ever known besides my mom, right? Didn't believe in God, didn't trust God. I had some religious friends, religious background with Catholicism. I was calling myself a Catholic, but I was far from it. That was almost a thing just to say that you were a Catholic back then. And it seemed like at the age of 15, that's where things started triggering, man. I really got buck wild. Got de-virginized, and then that created a monster, right? Because at 15, I'm a young guy, young kid. I needed a dad. I needed a man in my life to steer me in some kind of direction. Although I acted like I didn't need direction, although I acted like I knew it all, obviously I didn't. If you're 15 and you're listening right now, you don't know it all. You're getting a lot done, maybe more than I ever got done when I was 15, but you don't know it all. So I thought I knew it all, but I also knew that my dad would have steered me in the right direction if he would have been around a little longer, right? So at 15, no dad, right? And it was crazy because then, like I said, that's the same year I got de-virginized, and that created a monster in my soul, a monster in my soul. Could back it up a little bit more. When I was preteen, before I was a teenager, I remember I was in my grandmom's house, my mom's mom, and back in the day, listen, I'm talking about before the internet. That's how far I'm taking you back. Before the internet, there was such thing called life. Before the internet, before social media, before Wi-Fi, before everything. I lived that life before the internet. So I was young. I want to say 8, 9 years old, definitely before a teenager. And there was a Betamax. You have no clue what a Betamax is if you're not over 40 years old or 30 years old. But anyway, Betamax was a VHS before VHS came out. Betamax was the smaller videotape. Then the VHS came out, and then the disc came out and all that stuff. But there was something sticking out of the Betamax. Nobody was around, so I kind of like just shoved the little tape in. And back in those days, they were automatic. Like as soon as you shoved it in, it would turn on and it would start playing. And lo and behold, on when that thing started playing, it was pornography, right? So I was in my aunt's room. I'm not trying to throw my aunt under the bus or anything like that. I'm just sharing my testimony. It wasn't her fault. She didn't set me up to watch porn or anything, but that's what was on that tape. So I quickly popped it out because I was like, oh man, I'm going to get in trouble. People are going to think that I'm doing this intentionally. I had no clue what was going on that video. I just knew that it like sparked something and like it made me shiver a little bit in my body. Ladies and gentlemen, those images never left my mind. I can still remember those images to this day. Because those images never left my mind, it started working in my mind. It started doing something to my soul. So by the time I was, I want to say 11 or 12, I was addicted to sexual gratification, self-gratification, masturbation. I was addicted to it because something triggered in my hormones that now I know caused dopamine to be, how you call it, deposited into my brain. And that addiction is an addiction because the dopamine is like a drug, and it gives you a certain feeling, a certain high, and you want to chase after that high over and over and over again. You want to get that feeling again over and over again. So I became addicted to that sexual gratification, self-gratification, masturbation. The untold truth about that is that I believe some people knew, and I ended up playing house with my next door neighbor for the first time. And we were doing this thing called, what they called when we were kids, dry humping. Dry humping is acting like you're doing something fully clothed, right? So I had that experience with my next door neighbor, and then which was my age, by the way. It wasn't like a grown woman or anything. She was my age. If I was 11 or 12, the girl was 11 or 12 too. So I know my friends at that point had experiences that they were getting molested by their babysitters. So if it was a young kid, their babysitters were molesting them. Anyway, that's another story. So I was surrounded by all this type of, sexual thing, all this type of hormonal stuff that I didn't have a dad around. At that point, I had my dad when I was 11, 12. But, he was a part-time dad. When it came to the relationship with my mom, they were never married. Situation that statistically, growing up in the project, statistically that we were right on the path of where we should have been statistically, right? Dad not married. At that point, I had a sister. At that point, I had an older brother and an older sister. And I was the youngest at that time. So my mom kind of just slept on me. She didn't think that I was doing anything too bad, too crazy. But in my mind, I was doing the craziest things in my head than when I was a kid. And as a matter of fact, when I used to get babysat, I remember when I was a kid, my mom used to leave me with this lady. Her name was Sanaida. And Sanaida was just one of those women that, I'll take care of your kid. But meanwhile, she had random men come into the home. And I've always been a light sleeper ever since I was a kid. So this very day, I'm a light sleeper. So when she used to babysit me, she used to put me in, what do you call those things? The, not a crib, the playpen, and try to put me to sleep. And I used to always fake that I was sleeping, and she used to bring random men into the situation. And then I used to see things. So I could even go back when I was a kid, 4, 5, 6 years old, 4, 5, 6, and have those images. So I hope you're getting where I'm coming from. So that led to something. That led to me, and the enemy was on his job. The enemy was doing what he always has been doing. He wants to kill, steal, and destroy. He's always been on me. He's always been after me. Plus my own flesh, my hormones and all that stuff was just responding against my life. So fast forward, 13 years old. I'm still stuck in this self-gratification addiction and all that. 14, 15, my dad dies. I get de-virginized. Now I want the real thing now. I want to get with real girls. No longer I want to have this imaginative love sexual affair with myself. I want to have this over and over and over again with girls. And that led me to a whole crazy life. And by the way, back in those days when I was 13, I had my first kiss. Well, actually, let me back that up. I'm totally lying with these dates. I was in first grade when I got my first kiss, because I was forced by a girl to kiss me. She kissed me forcefully. A lot of people don't talk about that when they're guys, right? Also, when I was in the schoolyard in one elementary school, I used to run away from girls. I thought they were disgusting. So I was a normal kid running in the schoolyard away from the girls. They used to try to grab my cheeks. Oh, you're so cute. I used to run away from them. I wish I would have stood that way, right? Until I got married, but that's not the case. So all through elementary school, I'm good. I'm not too far out there. Not sexual at all. When I get into junior high school, I become a little bit famous because at that point I was a breakdancer, a rapper, and kids from the high schools used to come and battle me and rap because they found out that there was a young kid going around battling other rappers and winning. So then the high school students started coming and try to get their way but it wasn't working. I kept on winning. So I had that going on. And then I remember there was a truck in the projects, the stolen truck that had all these beat machines, right? And they were selling these beat machines off the truck for $100. These were like $500-$600 pieces. They were selling it for $100. And a friend of mine got it. He was a producer, and he just took me and my friend Demaine under his wing, and we started rapping in his studio, and we started using that beat machine. And then I convinced somebody in my family to get me the machine as well, and I had the machine as well. But anyway, so we had that. So breakdancer, rapper, you know, and all this other stuff was going on in my early stages of life. Then, you know, evidently I had really no problems, you know, attracting females. So that was almost like a curse. I'll tell you why in a minute. So then junior high school, you know, we started doing our thing. We had a crew called Dust Crew, Devastating Ultimate Sounds of Today, right? Dust Crew. And we were just recording, getting our songs ready to, you know, come out with an album, whatever. I got to meet some famous people back then. I met the real Roxanne Shante. I got to meet Ultramagnetic MCs. I got to meet Biz Markie. I got to meet so many celebs while we were hanging out and trying to get our music out there, right? So I also met MC Shan, a lot of Queens rappers during those times when they were already coming out, right? I got to meet Special Ed. You know, I'm talking about some old school hip hop right now. So if you're not older than 30, you have no clue what I'm talking about. But it's all good. So in those days, that's what it was, man. It was living in the projects, playing sports. We would play football in the street, right? Late at night, because we had lights in the parking lot. In the parking lot, that's where we would play from the day to the night on ice. And it'd be two-hand touch, but it was really tackle, right, without equipment. And we would do the thing, man. So I lived in the projects. I grew up in the projects of Brooklyn, New York. Cooper Projects, shout them out right now. Cooper Park houses, right? Cooper Park. So first car at 16, driving around and all this stuff. But listen, back it up, 15 years old. Actually, I got my first car when I was 15. At 14, 15, in between there, I had a girlfriend. You know, you had the whole puppy love thing going on. Girl from Queens. And me and my best friend at the time, he was dating her sister. I was dating her. Right? All this going on. She was the nicest girl that I've met at that point. We didn't do anything sexual other than, you know, the kissing and all that. No, kissing and hugging. Never went far with her because I never wanted to. She was very nice and polite. She was just a nice girl. But then high school comes. Get ready. High school is coming. I'm a sophomore in high school now. No, freshman, in high school. And guess what happens? My eyes start drifting. First of all, when I left junior high school, I thought I was in love with my first girlfriend that took my virginity, right? Because she wasn't a virgin. She actually took mine. She showed me what to do. And then when we graduated, she was like, listen, we're going to do two different high schools. She laid it down real quick. She was like, so we need to break up now because I'm not going to be faithful. She told me straight up. So it was, you know, and I'm over here crying. I was heartbroken. Guys cry, you know, when you know, the first so-called love, you know how that goes. But anyway, she told me straight up, yeah, it's not happening. I'm going to be, you know, chilling with other guys and stuff like that. And she was right. So she went to Norman Thomas High School. I ended up going to Murray Bertram High School, which was on the other side of the river, and both in Manhattan, but two different animals. So, you know, after I was heartbroken or whatever, I got over that the first day I got into the high school. So she told me that in June, after graduating out of junior high school. And then in September, when I walked into the building, Murray Bertram, I saw like hundreds of girls. I never saw that many girls in one building in my whole life. And then the rest is history. So somebody introduces me to this girl, right? And I'm in the lunchroom. Someone comes up to me and I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be good. The girl looked like Halle Berry at the time, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, what's up? She was like, oh, so-and-so wants to meet you. And to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, this is my untold truth. This is my testimony. So to be honest, the girl that she was pointing at looked like a white girl. And at that point, I wasn't into white girls. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not into white girls. She was like, white girl, that girl is Dominican. I was like, what? I was like, that girl is like a white girl. She looked like, what was the name of the actress I used to always call? Kim Basinger. I don't know if you know who that is. You're going to be like, who the heck is Kim Basinger? Sam, you're so old. Well, Kim Basinger, look her up. That's who the girl looked like. And since the Halle Berry looking girl, I was like, how about you? And actually, me and the one who introduced me to what soon after became my son's mom, we're still cool. You know what I mean? And she's a good person, good friend. But anyway, make a long story short, you know, I said, okay, no problem. And this will be different for me. And I remember it's like an echo in my ear. When I went home, I was all excited. I said, Mom, I just met somebody, you know, blah, blah, blah. She says, yeah, what kind of girl is she? I said, they said she's Dominican. My mom was like, my mom's old school Dominican, Puerto Rican thing that they had going on back in the day. I don't know if that's still a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like this whole prejudice from being a Puerto Rican or Dominican. I haven't seen that or heard about that in a while. But anyway, she's like, no, never get involved with no Dominican woman, with those Dominican girls. Stay away from those Dominican girls. And I'm like, nah. Hey, Elizabeth, how you doing? I'm doing good. Amen. It's good to see you here. I hope everything is sounding pretty good on your end, right? So I'm just sharing the untold story about why I left the party life. So if you want to chime in, let me reset the room. I'm also on the Wisdom app. If you want to come up, have any questions, concerns, or any prayer requests, or if you want to share your party life experience, or if you're still in the party life, I want to talk you out of it. But anyway, so here I am, high school, right? Yeah. And so at that point, I was like, let's give it a go. I totally disregarded what my mom said about, you know, the girl, and went back, you know, and started, you know, to talk. Now, mind you, I was told by my friend not to take it serious. Like, don't be serious about this. This is just, you know, wham, bam, thank you, man situation. But your boy got serious. So here I am. I was so attached emotionally every time I would get involved. And there's a reason behind that. But truth be told, I fell like flat on my face over, you know, puppy love with this girl. And then literally lasted 7 years. So we went all through high school together. I actually got kicked out of high school for fighting and for cutting class. And the reason why I was fighting so much is because she had me, we call it whooped. I'll keep it PG, but P-whooped. So that's what we used to call it back in the day. I don't know what they call it now, but I was whooped. And anything she would tell me, I would just go and react and respond. If she would tell me, oh, this guy touched me, or this guy called me a bad name, or this guy did this, I would just go up to the person and we start fighting. That's it. I was a loose cannon because I was not thinking with my head. I was thinking with my organs, my sexual organ. I was not thinking with my head, the thinking. This is all before Jesus. I was not saved. I had some Catholic background. Only reason why I was going heavy in the Catholic youth organization, we used to call it the Jornada movement, is because my girlfriend was there. And then I got to meet some other girls inside that Catholic youth organization that they used to call it. And we used to actually go into these retreat houses for the weekend in Uptown Manhattan. I think it was 110th between Amsterdam and Broadway. They used to call it Grace House. And I got to meet a lot of good people there. But I can't say we, because I don't speak about me. I was there for all the wrong reasons. Doing crazy things up in that Catholic youth organization building. Crazy things. I'm doing an adult Bible study December 19th. It's a Sunday night, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I believe that's this Sunday, not today, but next Sunday coming up. And if you want more information about what I used to do in that building, then and there is when I'll release that, because it won't be on the social media. It'll only be on the Clubhouse platform. It's by invitation only. And the reason why I did it on the Clubhouse platform is because they screen. I don't know how they do it, but they screen the people, and you definitely have to be 18 and over to be in Clubhouse. So it's an adult Bible study. We're going to get more raw than what I'm getting now. We're relevant, and we're going to have the word. Right now, this is not a formal Bible study or anything like that. I'm just sharing you the untold truth of my testimony of why I left the party life. So anyway, back to my son's mom. She wasn't my son's mom, obviously, at the time when we first met in high school, because we were 15 years old, even though that would have been a possibility. But started doing the doing the thing. And it became just like a toxic relationship, because we had no friendship. We just had sex. We just had that going on. We didn't have a bond. We didn't talk a lot. Every time we would talk, it would lead up to the same thing, different ideas of how to cut out and do what we needed to do with one another. So 15, 16, 17, there was cheating in between there. Obviously for obvious reasons, we were both not ready to settle down. We were too young. That's number one. And number two, we had no real moral standards. Obviously, we were already doing things that we should not have been doing in the first place. How many people could raise their hand and say, yeah, I wish I would have waited for marriage myself? Because literally, I wish I would have waited, because I was a monster. It was crazy. I don't even know how to explain it. I awakened something that should have been asleep until later on in life. But anyway, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and, still with her, other random girls. She was cheating on me. I was cheating on her, and this, that, and the third. So it came to a spot where she literally, crossed the line. I'm going to leave it like that. She crossed the line and did something with someone that it was just a line crossing. For real, like deep line crossing. So I started, waking up to the situation that I was in. And right before I was going to be bold enough to break it off and leave it like that, bingo, the three words came out of my mouth that changed my life forever. The three words were, I am pregnant. Yeah. So at the age of 19, I'm getting this 19, 20 years old, around there. She tells me. At that point, we're living with my grandmom. Yep. We're living together in my grandma's house and another projects, Willisburg projects. And yeah, she gets pregnant for obvious reasons. And now I'm like, whoa, I dropped out of high school at that point, right? I dropped out of high school in my senior year. Don't ask me why. Well, you could ask me why, actually. The reason why I did is because I was doing the math and I would have been like 2 to 3 years older than the people who were graduating in my class. So I felt embarrassed. So I dropped out. And when she told me I'm pregnant, I said, oh, I got to go get my GED. That's the general education diploma, and go get my real job, my first real job. Because at that point I was working for a supermarket called D'Agostino in Lower Manhattan. One of my jobs that's the job I had the most fun in my whole entire life working, was in D'Agostino. It was a really, really cool experience. I met the real Ken doll, the real Ken doll, Barbie and Ken. I met the real Ken. I met celebrities, delivered to a lot of people. Yvette Roberts, which is a very famous photographer who took pictures for Rolling Stones, all the great bands and everything. I used to actually do an intern with her just to file her pictures away in her file cabinets. That's how many pictures this lady had. Got to meet some good people, Lower Manhattan and Uptown Manhattan, because I worked in a D'Agostino in Lower Manhattan. Then I started working in a D'Agostino Uptown Manhattan, just because I started seeing some girl that was actually the love child, Carpenter's love child, the guy who produced Halloween. Was it Halloween or Friday the 13th? I think it's Halloween. Carpenter. I was seeing his love child, a real love child situation. And at first I didn't believe her until he shows up he would show up every month to give her mom money. And here it comes. He came, I think, in a Benz, Mercedes Benz, rolls up, comes out, and I'm like, oh snap, it's really him. Gives her an envelope, asks how they were doing, and then he left. Yeah, crazy stuff. I should have took that story to the Inquirer. I would have got paid for that story. But anyway, and that was all enough time my hand. But anyway, I don't even know why I went there. So here I am in that atmosphere. But mind you, when I was 18, 19, I'm already club promoting. I'm already doing these parties. I was already a mobile DJ for years before that, doing house parties that were epic. One of my birthday parties was combined with a girl I was seeing, a friend of mine. We used to call him AIM. Shout out to AIM and me. We celebrated our birthdays, all three of us, in the same night. And we rented out this club. And that was like the legendary birthday party of all time, right? In that area of Brooklyn. So we were part of that. At that point, we had over 500 people on our guest list. Every time we would throw a party, we would have hundreds of girls come through. And it was just a crazy life, that party life. We had we made our door girl famous. We used to call her Everlast because she always wore those Everlast spandex, outfits. They were like jumpsuits. We would call them cat suits right now if you were in the age. And everywhere we would go, we would have her be our door girl because she was pretty. She was witty. She was energetic, young, and engaging. And she made a lot of guys turn their heads and they wanted to get inside the club. But anyway, that was the strategy we had. And we called ourselves the Only in the Night Productions. Only in the Night Productions was the name that we called our production team when it comes to club promotion. And by that time, we already had a song out that was playing on the radio all over the country. That was inspired by a friend of mine. And I actually rapped it, but it was house. It was not hip hop. It was hip house. That was the thing back in the day. And a single was out. The album was out. Shout out to Freddie the Eddie Rivera, who was the guy behind it that helped make it happen. And so we had all that going on. All that was dealing with the party life. And at the same time, I'm over here about to have a kid, my first kid, right? And this is one of the reasons why I left the party life. We used to live, me, my son's mom, and at that point, the baby was born. The baby was a baby still, my son Jay. And I remember we had booked a New Year's Eve party. It's one of the biggest nights for clubs back in the day was the New Year's Eve party. So we had the club already booked. I believe we had, I want to say Oro Solido. We had a band, it was either Oro Solido or it was India. We had already booked. We had somebody booked. It was a big party. And my son's mom was sick. They had the flu. Both of them had the flu. And I remember like it was yesterday. She looked at me and said, "You gonna leave and do this party thing?" I said, "Yeah, it was already booked," which was true. But literally, I had two other guys that could have took over and took my part. I didn't have to be there, literally. So I said, "No, I got to be there." Lied out of my teeth, and I left them. It haunts me to this very day because I'm like, wow, I was a creep. I was that dude, man. Like, just after money. And doing things behind, not being trustworthy and nothing like that. So I said, no, I got to be there. She said, you're going to leave us sick here for New Year's, mind you, and go to a club and promote it. And I said, yeah, because we got to make money. I got to pay rent. I had all the excuses in the book. It was a big night. I used to hire my uncle, which is, he's a kung fu expert. And he used to carry the bag. The bag is where all the money would be. At the end of the night, we would have to count the money and then distribute the money to our promoters and take the door money for us. And then we would guarantee the bar. I know I'm talking real fast, but this is how it worked. We would guarantee the bar X amount of money. Back those days, we would guarantee the bar $1,500 to $2,000 a night. So that means a bar guarantee meant this. that if we get enough crowd to come into the club and they would drink from the bar anywhere between $15 to $2,000, and then we would keep the whole door money. But if we didn't make that and they got less than $2,000 or less than $1,500, whatever we agreed on, then the club would take the door money until they made that money. It was a guarantee. So they would never lose. So we made sure we packed them clubs up, right? And we had clubs everywhere. We had promoters everywhere. We used to do this thing called bombing. We used to go to other clubs that were famous and had so many people. And we used to go to the nearest train stop, or we would go right into the parking lot. And sometimes we would even go inside the club and bomb them. That meant we would take our flyers and throw them in the middle of the crowd. We would throw them literally on the floor in the middle of the crowd, throw them literally on the floor in the train station and the surrounding areas, right? Sometimes we used to get chased out of those clubs and threatened and told not to ever do that again. But that was part of being a club promoter. We would bomb parties. I remember we did a party that we call ourselves a different name. We call ourselves BQE Productions, Brooklyn Queens Productions. And we just put out flyers. We packed the party. And as soon as we made enough money, we left the party. We didn't pay nobody, no promoters or anything, because we were shady and shiesty. But we made a lot of money. One of the reasons why I left the party life is because I knew how crooked and shady it was. I told you before that the guy who took me under his wing, his name was Sergio. At that time, he was one of the top promoters in New York City. And he took me under his wing because I said, listen, I want to learn how to do this. I want to learn how to do this. He said, yeah, if you learn from me, one day you'll be a club promoter at the door. But mind you, I wanted that ASAP. So he taught me a little bit too much, because within 2 or 3 months, I remember I had a meeting with one of the club owners. So I bypassed the promoter. I went to the club owner, and it was like a scene out of Scarface. This club owner was in the back, snorting up lines of cocaine, and asked me, yes, how can I help you? Just like that. And I was like, listen, I know you're paying Sergio X amount of money, but we'll come in, we'll pack you up more than what he packed you up, and we'll take a little less than what he's doing just to come up. And then as soon as we pack this place up, then we'll come to the table and talk about our price again. He was like, oh, go for it. And that was it. That was the whole conversation. I said, that's it. He said, yeah, I'm the club owner. I tell people what to do here. So, when you want to start? I said, well, give us 2 weeks, because we have to make the flyers and we have to, promote. We had a guest list that we had a call list. We used to actually call the people ourselves. We used to take nights and call people up and invite them to our clubs. Had a big guest list. And 2 weeks later, I'm at the door. Sergio comes and says, okay, you guys could go inside now. I'm here. I says, nah, you don't understand. We're here. Only Night Productions took over this club, and we are the main promoters. And he said, really? I said, yeah. He shook my hand and said, you did well. I taught you well. I'll be seeing you around. All that meant was like, he's going to come and bomb our party one day and try to get our people. But he was kind of like, had a smirk on his face, like, oh, okay. Because it was a cutthroat business, and still is, I would imagine. I've been out that business for a while. So one of the reasons why I left the party life is because it's really shady. You think people are shady in regular corporate America? The club life, because there's a lot of money involved, is really, really shady. I literally had people that used to come and promote my clubs just for drink tickets. Back then, we used to give drink tickets. The club would give us X amount of drink tickets, and we could give them out to anybody. We also had a guy that was infamous. He was a famous club promoter that if you had his card, you get into the club for free before a certain time, before 12 o'clock, pretty much. New York clubs used to close at 3 or 4 in the morning, some of them. It's not like Pennsylvania clubs close at 2, and the last call for alcohol was 1:30. In New York City, during those times, last call for alcohol was 2 o'clock, and people were still drinking till like 3:30, 4 o'clock. But anyway, so we had these famous people coming in. We used to have Fat Joe always coming to our clubs. We used to have Noriega. We used to have a lot of Queens rappers, a lot of Bronx rappers coming over. Terror Squad. We used to have, freestyle artists coming to our clubs, Cynthia, Corey, Coro, and all the, it was just like that. It was just like really, you got to meet people. We used to drive in limos to go to other people's party. It was just that type of life. Reason why I left that party lifestyle is because I barely made it out there alive. It really sucks you in. You talk about drugs, talk about money, sex, violence. All of that is involved, and we're acting like we're having a great party life, but it's actually not a life at all. Another reason why I left the party life is because I had a full-time job doing all of that. I had a mini family. I was never married to my son's mom, but hey, she was my son's mom. I respected that. I still respect that, but it wasn't right. Everything was wrong about what I was doing and the life I was living. And that party lifestyle caused a lot of betrayal among friends, right? We were always, growing up, we was amongst the fellas, we would say, listen, we're never going to let any girl come in between our friendship. None of us. And we held tight to that. There was a couple of breaches in the contract, but for the most part, we held tight to that. But when you're in a party life, and everything goes. One day you're with somebody else's girlfriend. The next day she's with somebody else. You know what I mean? Like it's that type of life. It's not worth it. So I left the party life for good in 2001, but I'm getting there. So when I was 22 years old, I left the state of New York because of issues that would have made me go over the top and do something to a person that would not have been too good. Would have probably landed me in jail or dead. So I had to make a big decision, and that decision was to leave the whole entire state and leave my son behind, because I no longer wanted to be around his mom and the situation that was going on. So literally decided to leave. And when I told that to one of my boys, let's get a van, let's rent a U-Haul, and I'm out with you because I want to leave too. And he literally moved out here with me. We lived with a friend of mine, Orlando. Shout out to Orlando, man. Good brother, good friend, man. He's mad at me for some things that happened in the past, but I love him. I have no beef, no gripe with him because he's actually the one who got me out here. And God used him to set me up in Pennsylvania for a good thing. So he allowed us to live with it. He was always telling us, yo, you got to come to PA, man, because he was from Brooklyn as well. And his story is amazing, too. He literally told this young girl, said, listen, I live in PA. If you want to come live with me, and, you could come. If you want, you stay. But that was it. And she literally moved out here with him, and they had kids and everything. It was an incredible story, but it's a true story, too. But anyway, he let us stay a little bit with him and his girlfriend. And in his apartment in Allentown. That was the first stop we were at. And these apartments, I think they call them Arbor Village apartments now. I don't know what it was called back then. I forgot. Or it still could be called Arbor Village. Anyway, it was the south side of Allentown. And we were from New York, so we already knew, what the hustle was all about. Getting a job was no thing for us and all that stuff. Because we felt like out here, everybody was moving in slow motion compared to New York City life. But so we were there for maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months, and we got our jobs. We got our own apartment, me and my boy Mid, and got our own apartment, and we were getting in trouble. We were already linking up with random girls and all this other stuff. Same old, right? You could take us out of the neighborhood, but you can't take the neighborhood out of us. So we're in another neighborhood now, just in a different state. So eventually it got too boring, right, for my boy Mid. He got into some little trouble. Then after he got out of that trouble, he went back to New York. And I said, nah, I'm not going back because I didn't want the situation that I thought I was going to get myself into, if you get what I'm saying. So I stood out here, and I never turned back. That was in 1996, 97, around there. Never went back. So at that point, I had a girlfriend, which is my wife now, and she literally, we broke up for, I forgot what the reasons were for, but for sure, the long distance relationship I didn't think would work. And long story short, she saw my brother in Manhattan, my oldest brother in Manhattan one day, and she asked about me, And my brother didn't tell me about that meeting almost till like a year later. She said, "Oh yeah, forgot to tell you." And it was almost a year later. She said, "That girl, Uni, she was asking about you." I said, "Really?" She said, "Yeah." So I don't know how she did it. My wife now, which was my girlfriend back then, she looked me up via my social security card, found an address right before I moved. Like I had just moved out of the address, so she was like right behind me, like trying to get where I was. She finally tracked me down. I picked up the phone. She was like, "Listen, New Year's we should spend it together, this, that, and the third." She says I was the only one she really loved, and all that. And so I ended up in New York for New Year's, spent it with her, and then she moved out here. I'm shortening the story. And then we got married in 1999. Got married in 1999. But I still wasn't with Christ, still wasn't saved. I tried to do the party thing out here, promoting clubs out here, and I did, actually. There was a famous club called, what was it called? It was in the basement with DJ Menace, which is a very popular DJ in my area still. I want to say, was it the Funhouse? I forgot, or club, forgot what it was called. Anyway, the Club Download, something like that. It was on Broad Street in Bethlehem, PA. We did that for a little while. We were on the radio doing a radio show called Mixtape Flavors. Did that for 3 years on 91.3 FM. So I was still trying to live that life out here. But when I tried to go into the club promotion out here in Pennsylvania, I couldn't figure out how these club promoters were making money, because it was like free to $3 to get into these clubs, and I was so used to charging people $20 to $25 at the door to get that door money. But anyway, so another reason why I left the party life, because it wasn't working out here in Pennsylvania. So I became a patron instead of a promoter. I became became that guy that goes into the club instead of promoting the club. Even though I did some promotion out here, but there was not a lot of money involved until they put me on to Philadelphia. And then I was thinking about doing the Philadelphia circuit, but then transportation, time, and all that stuff. It was just a different vibe out here, in a good way for me, because it changed my life. So I laid it down. I really wasn't doing it too much. I was concentrating more on my wife, and still wasn't saved. Long story short, I started doing, I cheated on my wife. She left me. And we were separated for like almost a year, at least 8 months at least. But in between there, in the year 2001, it was December 12th, 2001, I called out to God. I was done with the party life. I was still partying, but in other words, I was just like sick of it. I was like, I did everything, man. There was not really nothing else for me to do. I did concerts. I had 2 rap groups that I produced for, famous rap group, Puerto Rican group called Killer Ricans, and we were doing shows all around the Lehigh Valley. They were getting real famous in Puerto Rico. Also, I had another rap group, Black and Jose, that were getting real famous. We were selling mixtapes. Everything was happening, but I still was empty. I had nothing. Like, it was still empty. So that's all my live.someoneswithz.org. That video is about to end, because I only had it mapped out for an hour. But if you're watching or listening on the Wisdom app, or if you're watching from the social media, YouTube or whatever, I'll be on here for a little longer. It's just going to sign off at live.someoneswithz.org. So let me reset. My name is DJ SAMROCK. I am the owner of Cellular Radio Network, co-founder of Soul Winners Inc. with my beautiful wife of over 20 years. I'm sharing the untold truth of why I left the party life. But if you want to sign up to my website, just go to live.soulwinnerswithaz.org. Sign up. It's a once and done deal, and it takes less than 45 seconds. Put your picture, your name, and your best email, and that's all you have to do. And every time you go on that website, you could go into the live chat, and I'll see who you are, and we could take it from there. So God bless you to all the people from live.soulwinnerswithaz.org. We have 5 more seconds there. God bless you all. Thanks for hanging out with me for this short time. Peace. All right, so that's done over there. So back to the story. So yeah, so I wasn't the man that I am now back in the day. So, but in the year 2001, man, it was like epic, because I was so tired of getting my way, doing my thing, and just like being left empty. It was the weirdest feeling, right? You would think, oh man, I can party, get girls, have a certain amount of money, car, house, all that stuff. But I still was empty. So I was like, what's the sense? It wasn't making any sense anymore. So I remember I was drunk and high. I was in my studio in Allentown. Nobody was around. My brother was in the other room, though, because he was going through a situation with the city of Allentown with his kids. So he was going through something. I was going through something. I said, listen, man, this is crazy. So I'm over here drunk and high, pointing at the ceiling. And I'm saying, okay, because at that point, Mormons would come into my house. Jehovah's Witnesses would come into my house. And then I had these two brothers, the Martinez brothers. They were Christians. And they would come into my house trying to convince me to believe in God. They would actually invite me to do events with them in the projects of Allentown and the projects of Bethlehem, and do reach out to kids. That's another story. I used to get into a Yogi Bear suit. It was like a big bear suit, and rap to the kids. All I knew about Christian rap at that point was really nothing, but they allowed me to do that because God was working to work. But anyway, so all of that was coming to my remembrance, and I'm drunk and high. You know, my wife was gone. She wasn't with me anymore and all this other stuff. So I was like, this is ridiculous. I said, let me call out this guy that's supposed to be this guy. Let me see if he could really do something in my life. I was so tired of hearing this story. Came from the party life. It came from the projects. At that point, unfortunately, this is not a brag. This is really horrible, actually, but it's the untold truth. But at that point, in the year 2001, I had been with over 30 women. That's disgusting, horrible. I should have an STI or STD. I should have died of AIDS. It's horrible. I'm not endorsing it. Last time I shared this testimony with some young people, I literally started crying because I'm like, they don't know the pain that comes with, you don't know the people that you have, these soul ties, these soul attachments. You don't know what that puts a person through. People, some guys might, teenagers might think that's, wow, man, that's cool, man. You bodied all those women and all those girls. And to me, it's a nightmare. It's a horrible thing. It's disgusting. It's sin. It's just not good. So I'm not endorsing that. But at that point, I had over 30. So it was like no problem in that area. But I was just tired and sick of it. So called out to this guy that I didn't believe in. I didn't trust in. I really didn't think he existed. So I made an ultimatum. I said, well, I might as well show off now because nothing's going to happen. That's the way I was thinking. So I said, listen, I'm going to call him out. Tell him to change me by the time I wake up the next day. And if he don't change me, if he doesn't come through, then I'm going to keep it moving. There is no God. That's basically what I said, what I told him. I'm not suggesting you do that and talk to God with such disrespect. But it's my testimony. It's the untold truth. Some of y'all already heard my testimony, but you didn't hear all the other stuff that I spoke about earlier. And so I wake up the next day and something happened. Something crazy happened, actually. When you wake up, your eyes open, but there was something more. When I opened my eyes, something else awakened. I could feel it in my body, my soul, my spirit. And I didn't know what it was. I was like, whoa, this is different. So I shoved the girl and tell her to wake up. She said, what's going on? I said, I don't know what happened, but last night I did something and today it looks like it's coming to pass. You got to go. She was like, what are you talking about? I said, I'm married. She was like, yeah, I know that. Hello? You cheated with your wife with me. I said, no, you don't understand. Because I never took the ring off. So I looked at my ring. I was like, wait a minute. So I started waking up, literally waking up. So all that time, just to make my point about why I left the party life, in my party life time, from the time I was young all the way till I was 30 years old, I was literally asleep. I had no clue what I was doing. The party life was all a facade. So anyway, to make a long story short, I had to do something drastic to make know that I was serious about returning to my wife. So I had to do something really drastic. Literally, I had to do something drastic. And ultimately, what I did was I pushed her outside of my home, butt naked, in a birthday suit. Pushed her out my front door. And I lived in a kind of like popular block in Allentown, my first house. And people were seeing her. She was like, oh, what are you doing? I can't believe you did this. And she was yelling and screaming. I just needed to hear 3 words. And those 3 words I needed to hear from her was, I hate you. And guess what? She said it. She said, I hate you. So I opened the door, let her back in. And like clockwork, ladies and gentlemen, this is the way the devil works. Like clockwork, I get a ring at the bell. She's getting dressed. My doorbell rings. Ding, ding. And it's one of my boys. He says, you kicking her out? I said, yeah. She said, I'll take her. Just like that. That's how the enemy works. The party life at that point, ladies and gentlemen, was over. So that same night, it was always in that house. That house was full of darkness and wickedness. I'm telling you, man. That house had spirits and demons. It was crazy. But anyway, during that time that we were in that house, my brother used to have random women with his friends, random women. I used to have, people there too. And it was always weed and alcohol. So I remember that next night, after I made my decision to follow Jesus, I didn't know it was Jesus. I just thought it was God. I didn't know what was going on. But I was waking up. And my boy Damien said, here, man, smoke this. And I was like, you know what? I don't smoke no more. And he looked at me like I was completely crazy. He looked at me like I had 3 heads on my head, my shoulders. He was like, what are you talking about? You were just smoking last night. I said, yeah, I stopped. He said, come on, man. So in my mind, ladies and gentlemen, all I said was, you know what? One for the road. And I inhaled 1 puff. And then Damien was like, Damon. Keep on going, Damien. Damien was like, Sam, what's going on with you? I said, what are you talking about? He says, bro, you look like a statue. Like you're turning pale. It looked like you're turning into a statue right now. I said, well, what the heck did you make me smoke? Crack or LSD? What the heck is wrong with you? He said, you don't believe me? Go upstairs and look in the mirror. So I ran upstairs, looked in the mirror, and ladies and gentlemen, it looked like I was turning into a statue. Like no joke, no cap. I'm telling you, it looked like I was turning into stone. And I remember I knelt down in front of that mirror and I was like, God, are you going to kill me? Like, what the heck's going on? I thought I was good with you. And I heard a voice, like I'm speaking now. It said, you asked me to change you for you not to go back to your same way. He said, I changed you for you not to go back to your old same way. You didn't have to tell me no more, ladies and gentlemen. That was it. I heard that voice. From that point on, I stopped smoking, stopped drinking, and got into that word. The first scripture I learned by memory was 2 Corinthians 5:17, I believe it is, that the old man is dead. I'm paraphrasing. And behold, you're a new man. And I used to go and find my wife that we were separated still, go to her apartment, and I used to tell her, listen, I'm a changed man. And I used to quote that scripture. She used to slam the door. She used to call the police. She used to kick me out because she wasn't trying to hear that. Plus, my son's mom was in her ear talking about, oh, once a cheater, always a cheater. He's never going to change. He's using religion. He used that with me years ago when we were in Catholic youth organization. Don't let him do it to you, this, that, and the third. So I was basically crying wolf. I left the party life because it was phony and fake. It wasn't real. And then now I come to reality. God saves me, transforms me. Now I'm crying wolf because of the party lifestyle that I was just out of. Like it was just like day and night. My wife always says that I changed like I did a 180 like overnight. It seemed that way, but it wasn't. And I had a lot of issues. I still had the sexual addiction, even saved. I still had that. Why? It's not because God didn't deliver me from that when I got saved. It was because I was holding on to it because I liked it. Sin is pleasurable for a season. The party life is pleasurable for a season. Sex, drugs, alcohol is pleasurable for a season. Sex outside of marriage is pleasurable for a season. But what happens when that season is over? The weird thing about living that party life is that you don't know when that party's over. It could be over sooner than you think. You might be in the party life right now listening, like, oh, you're bugging. I'm going to do me. Well, that's exactly what you're going to be doing. And nobody's going to argue with you. As a matter of fact, you'll probably have a lot more friends in the party lifestyle than when you have in the Christian lifestyle. Just because of the vibe and the environment. As a matter of fact, when I first gave my life to the Lord, right, my boys started noticing that I stopped cursing as much, didn't drink no more, didn't smoke no more. They were like, what happened to you? You got into religion? I said, I don't know what's happening, but I'm changing. Like, I'm not even after those things no more. They were like, oh, let's see how long that'll last. And that was 2001. We're in 2021. It's lasting. It's 20 years later. Like, no joke. I left the party life because it wasn't real. I left the party life because I did everything that the party offered. I was the DJ of the party. I was the promoter of the party. I was the dancer of the party. I was the hoe of the party. I was the sweet talker of the party. I was the violence in the party. I was drunk at the party. I was high in the party. What other part of the party did I need to experience? That's why I believe that I got out of it, because it was not fulfilling anything in my life. It wasn't satisfying anything. Yeah, I could tell you some ratchet stories about the party life that a lot of people might enjoy right now. For instance, there was a group called TKA. You probably don't know who that is. It was an old freestyle group. And we were at the last concert, and I was in there by invite of the people who really knew TKA. Shout out to DJ LeBron. Shout out to Mambo LeBron. All the fellas from back in the day. Shout out to Voice, which was another famous freestyle group, all male freestyle group from back in the day. So we was in, I think it was in Brooklyn, their last show. I think it was in East New York. And it was TK's final show together during those years. Inside that club, ladies and gentlemen, they were so famous with the woman that they were literally, the woman in the crowd were literally crying, passing out, taking off their panties and throwing it on the stage. Craziness. So yeah, I did see that part of the life. I was there. Freestyle music, I was there. I was part of it. I was part of the culture. Produced some of the music. Yeah. So it's not like I don't know nothing about the party life. But the reason why I left the party life is because now I don't have to smoke no more. I don't have to drink no more. I don't have to get high no more. I don't have to go with other women no more. Have sex with other women. I have my wife for that. And God really changed my life. Like, the untold truth about the party life is that it's phony, it's fake. It only lasts for a season. Now, I know people who are still in the party life to this very day. They're a little older than me. And they started a little before me, and they're still in it. Well, if you look at their lives externally, they look older than me, because they are older than me. But they also have a lot of issues and problems, a lot of addictions, some things that they can't get rid of anymore because they're so used to the party life. And without it, they feel empty. Listen, if I went to the party life now, I'll feel more empty than I ever felt, right? I remember I was at a restaurant the other day, like a couple of weeks ago, and it was a restaurant that they tell you what's on the menu, and they also rip out the wine and alcohol menu. Say, what do you want to drink tonight? How could I help you with something to drink? I'm like, nah, I don't drink alcohol. What kind of soda do you have? You're like, what do you mean you don't drink alcohol? I said, I don't drink alcohol. He says, you don't have any drinks? I said, no. I said, as a matter of fact, I've been sober since 2001. And the waitress was like, how'd you do that? That was my perfect opportunity to share my testimony. Because people are amazed that you could be sober for such a long time. And you know what? I don't plan on getting high or drunk in the near future. Well, I've been through 19 New Year's parties already, sober. And sober to me is the new high. So I'm just celebrating the fact that it's my 20th anniversary of being transformed and being born again. And I'm still sober. I haven't got high since 2001. I haven't got drunk since 2001. I haven't cheated on my wife since 2001. It's a freeing situation, an incredible life that God showed up and changed it all. Why I left the party life, the untold truth. Let me just reset and reintroduce myself. My name is DJ SAMROCK. I'm the owner of Cellar Radio Network at soulwinnerswithaz.org online. 247. It's a radio network. Also, I am the podcast host, resident DJ at Cellar Radio Network, and co-founder of Soul Winners Inc. with my beautiful wife, Nina Lopez, of over 20 years. She was with me before I got saved, and she's with me now. And she'll tell you I'm not perfect. She'll tell you I'm not the ideal romantic husband. But she would also tell you that I am a changed man. Because she's seen me how I was before, and she sees me how I am now. Being perfected. Amen. Staying in my lane and being dedicated to my family and to her. This side of the party, man, is much better. You might say, oh, that's just your opinion. Well, My opinion right now is the only thing that matters to me. My life has changed. The party life is over. I celebrate. Of course I do celebrate. I celebrate the fact that I'm born again. I celebrate Jesus, celebrate life. I celebrate your life. Amen. I pray for people. I celebrate your victories. I don't celebrate people when they die. I don't celebrate, like if they get killed. I'm not celebrating. Even if they were the worst person on the planet, I'm not celebrating somebody's death. That's evil. I don't do evil for evil. So I celebrate life. I celebrate your life. So I encourage you, if you're in the party life and you're out there right now, if I get on social media right now, and it's true, if I go into somebody's live on TikTok or on Instagram, you're going to see 9 out of 10 of those videos, you're going to see them partying, twerking, touching themselves, making the sound effects with their mouth and all this other stuff, doing a lot of stuff because they are in that life. Party life is actually not a life. It's actually, I should have changed it to party death, because that party lifestyle is not a lifestyle, it's a death style. Sex, drugs, alcohol, and violence. It's still happening, still being promoted heavy. Still being promoted heavy, man. The music industry still does their thing, right? The music industry still wants that. The music industry is still making money off of drugs, sex, and violence. The industry is still making money off of pornography, right? So it's all there. That's why it shouldn't surprise any one of us that when you go into somebody's TikTok live or Facebook live, or into not too much Facebook live, but on these other platforms that you could go live, they're either twerking, they're either talking about party life, or they're in the club right now and they're doing all kind of things to themselves or with others right there live on the cam. I can't point fingers. It's the weirdest thing. I can't judge them because I was one of those people. So I can't judge. I let God do the judging, right? He's the ultimate judge anyway. But if you're on this side of the coin, he's saying you're a believer, I could judge you as a believer. I could hold you accountable. But I'm not supposed to judge the outsiders, people who are outside of the kingdom of faith, the kingdom of God. The Bible says, don't look at them like if they're like unsavable or unredeemable, because you used to be the same way, and look at you now, redeemed and saved. If you would have asked me 22 years ago if I would have been doing a podcast talking about why I left the party life, I would have called you crazy. We'd have probably got punched in the mouth, said, what you trying to say? I'm going to go into religion? Don't insult me like that. But here I am, leaving, and I left in the year 2001. I still can't believe it's been 20 years, man. There's nothing in this world for me. The party is over. I'm in a new party right now. I'm on the guest list for a different club, right? And the music is popping over here. I'm on the good side. I'm in the forever family now. I still DJ, amen, and I still do my thing. One time, me and my wife went into a club because we made a deal with one of her friends. Said, listen, we'll go to your birthday party that was inside of a club. It was a famous club back in the day in Allentown. It's no longer there. She said, okay, if you come to my party, I'll go to your church the next day. Well, we did our part. And it's funny because on that line, we saw so many Christians and they weren't there for our party. They were just there to turn up. And then they saw us on the line. So they figured, well, you can't say nothing about us because you're on the line. But they didn't know that we were there on a promise, in hopes that my wife's friend would return their promise and hold their end of the bargain, which they never did. So when we went in there, we felt like so out of place. My wife was a club promoter. She's actually worked for me back in the day before she was my wife. And she was good at it too. But we felt so out of place when we went into that nightclub. And we were like, man, this is not for us no more. We're not even feeling the vibe no more, right? Yes, we can dance. Yes, we can drink if we wanted to. Yes, we can twerk if we wanted to. We can dance reggae if we wanted to. Actually, that's where I met my girl when she was my girlfriend. We met in the reggae room. She has moves, man. And she just had me like, wow. And I remember telling my boy, my best friend at the time, I was like, yeah, that's going to be my wife someday. He was like, you tripping? What are you talking about? You didn't even know her like that. I said, yeah, I know. I just have this feeling. And that was, I guess, God speaking to me. In my sin, he was still letting me know who she was going to be later on in my life. An amazing thing. I can't make this up. So I left the party life because the party life is not a life at all. The party life for me was a death life. It was a death. The party is over, but the new party started in the year 2001, December 12th, over 20 years ago. That's the untold truth. Not a lot of people will tell you about their past like I've told you about my past. And the reason why I speak about my past is because a lot of people have this misconception that believers only talk about what's happening in their lives now, which is, I'll talk about that too. But what about your past? I never forgot where it came from. I wasn't born a Christian. My family wasn't all into the church like that. So why wouldn't I talk about past? So that way I can compare it to what's happening now, and hopefully somebody gets the point. The point is, the party life is not good. Party life is full of phony people. The party life is full of drugs, sex, alcohol, violence. The party life is just there to take your money, take your soul, take your possessions, take your girlfriend, take your boyfriend. It's full of all kind of dirty ideas, pornographic ideas. And some people thrive off of that stuff. Some people get it popping. Some people are out there not planning on leaving that life. I wasn't planning on leaving that life either. By the way, just in case you thought, oh, you just planned that. I didn't plan on leaving this life, the life that I led before. Now, I'm the same Sam, but I'm just a different man right now. My vibe is totally different. I still DJ, like I said, but I play family-friendly music. If you don't believe me, you could go to soulwinners.org, press play on the player, and you'll hear what I play. My music is geared towards teens and young adults. So I play a lot of hip-hop, a lot of house music, reggae music, all family-friendly, mostly Christian music, right? That's a vibe by itself. So that's all I had, man. Why I left the party life, the untold truth. And you heard a lot. If you want to join me for an adult Bible study so we could talk more, I'll be on Clubhouse December 19th. That'll be the first session. You have to DM me, you have to message me, inbox me for the link, because it's by invite only, and you have to be 18 and over. And if you want to try to trick the system, I guess you can, but somehow Clubhouse knows if you're under 18. So if you're 16, 17, and you're trying to get into my adult Bible study, it probably won't work. And it's not going to be streaming nowhere else but in Clubhouse and on a private podcast. I lied. I'm sorry. A private podcast that only the people on my email list will get the private link, and they'll be listening in as well. So there's a lot more. I skipped out a lot of things just because I'm trying to respect the people that were involved when I was in the party life. I don't want to really put their names out there without their permission, but they know who they are and they know who I was, right? And that's the whole point. God changed my life. I left the party life because God gave me a new life. I left the party life because now God gave me a new way to celebrate life. I left the party life because now I don't have to get drunk or high, right? I don't have to smoke no more, I don't have to drink no more, because now I'm on a supernatural high. At any given moment, you know, I could get that high feeling, but it's like a supernatural holy high. It's no longer a devilish, demonic, oppressed bondage high, right? And I haven't did anything self-gratification since 2002, because it took me a year to get delivered from that. It took me a year, ladies and gentlemen. It took me a year to finally let it go, because I was already delivered. The day you get saved, the day God enters into your heart, into your life, you're delivered from every soulful curse, ancestral curse. You're delivered from any addiction right on the spot. The problem is we could be in the way of the deliverance. In other words, I was holding on to that sexual gratification, that self-gratification, because I had so much dopamine stored in my brain that I was totally addicted. Like an addiction, like it is an addiction. I know people who are nymphomaniacs and they're addicted to sex. Personally, I know people like that. Just like there's people addicted to drugs and alcohol. There's people addicted to sexual things. An addiction, Pornography could store dopamine into your brain, and you could become addicted to pornographic material. You don't believe me? Look it up. Google it, right? But I'm out of here. I hope you got something out of here. I know it was a little bit more raw than normal, but I'm celebrating the fact that I've been sober over 20 years, man. I've been like faithful to my wife for 20 years. Like, my thought life has changed. It's not spotless or perfect. My thought life still has ratchetness in there, but I know how to give my thoughts over to the Lord, and whatever ratchet thought, he could make it righteous. He cleans my mind and my thoughts. He can do the same for you. So I'm not missing out on nothing. I don't miss the parties. I don't miss the clubs. What I do miss about the clubs is that deep bass, that pounding bass that used to hit you right through your chest, right? You have some good music. What I do miss is the people who would dance in front of you, behind you, and we have a good vibe, a good time. I miss hanging out with my brother, to going to those clubs, those after hours in those clubs in Manhattan. Me and my brother used to go and hang out. I miss those times me and my brother just hanging out in the club. But other than that, the party life, I don't miss it, right? I don't miss it. Every now and then I'll get nostalgic. I'll go into my back in the day bag, and I'll go on live on my radio network and play some classic house, some classic hip hop, and mix it up. And then I'll connect with some of my family, and they'll listen in, and we'll just reminisce, man. Because it's okay to reminisce. It's okay to have memories, right? I just know for me, if I would ever try to go back to my old ways, I think the Lord would take me out, because it would be like shameful. It would be ridiculous. It wouldn't even be a vibe. It wouldn't even be, it's not me, right? I will have to force it. And if you're forcing something, that means you're not living truthfully. You're not being who you are. You're trying to be someone else. So I'm out of here. God bless you all. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thank you for hearing me out while I left the party life, the untold truth, with your brother DJ SAMROCK. So winners stand up. So I shout out to all my peoples from back in the day and everyone who's supporting me now. It's an amazing walk that I'm walking, and I hope and pray that one day, if you find yourself in this party lifestyle and you find yourself like so deep in it that you think you can never get out, talk to me. I'm your older brother in Christ. I'm everybody's brother. Talk to me, and I'll share some experiences. And sometimes my wife, every now and then, she'll share some of experiences too. If she feels led to talk to, if you're a girl, I suggest you reach out to my wife. I'll get you in contact with her. If you're a guy, I'm your man. So let's do it. Let's talk about it. Get you up out of there. Party life is not all what is wrapped up and sold to be, right? There's a lot of phoniness in there. And there's a lot of deception in there. There's a lot of evil in there. Those clubs with all the lights and the best DJ and the people dancing and all that stuff, there's somebody in there that's lonely. There's someone in that crowd that's getting molested. There's someone in that crowd that's getting raped. There's someone in that crowd that's high. There's someone in that crowd that's addicted. There's someone in that crowd that's a Christian. There's someone in that crowd that's an atheist. All up in that crowd. That's the untold truth that a lot of people don't want to talk to you about. But why I left the party life, I'll talk to you about that all day and all night. His name is the Lord Jesus Christ. He saved me, rescued me, took me out of that darkness, and brought me into his marvelous light. Period. God bless. Peace.